Today we have a classic case of the chameleon versus the traditional woman. Shout out to Let's Talk with Lapeef, and it shows exactly why these older women, the ones in their late 30s pushing 40, why they are single. And I support Black love, but this is also a great example of why brothers are having to go outside of our culture to find more traditional women. Now, let's be clear, this behavior is not the fault of the men. These modern women, they are raised to be combative, uncooperative, and just plain out of order. So let's go ahead and get into it. You have a non-Black Muslim woman who's 27 years old, raised with a traditional family from the East, the only married woman on the panel. So the first clip is her first appearance on the show, where they talked about what could women from our culture learn from other cultures in order to maintain relationships and even increase marriage rates. But instead of listening, the older lady on the show, who was unmarried and also classified as a baby mama, kept arguing with her instead.
The topic again is, why are so many women afraid of change? In you guys' culture, do you feel like women are afraid of change? Okay.
Add some more context, JR. What you mean by change?
Change meaning that toxic behavior, being loud and disrespectful towards men and to themselves, masculine energy. So those are just some of the things that I'm referring to when I say change. So here we have an issue where we feel like women have a problem holding themselves accountable or allowing other people to hold them accountable, not recognizing their mistakes. They're trying to go back and forth with you. They are who they are, and they're going to continue to be who they are.
That was a really great question posed by Lapeef, but did anybody notice the body language from the co-host? Did anybody seem to look uncomfortable when he said that people will never change? They go back and forth. I'm gonna let you look at that part again. Did anybody notice any body language here? Anybody uncomfortable here?
Masculine energy. So those are just some of the things that I'm referring to when I say change. So here we have an issue where we feel like women have a problem holding themselves accountable or allowing other people to hold them accountable, not recognizing their mistakes. They're trying to go back and forth with you. They are who they are, and they're going to continue to be who they are.
I don't even have to say anything. You can clearly see the people bothered by that statement because they fit into the category, and you can see who's not bothered because he is not describing them.
Right. In my culture, the women want change, but change does not come easily, and the men prefer to keep it traditional. So it's more of a tug of war in my culture. Women want to have more freedom. They want to be able to speak up and speak out more. And I think the problem is the men, they see the Western women and they don't want to see the Eastern women turn into the Western women. No offense to Western women, but the liberation that the Western world has seen for females has brought a lot of issues that haven't been resolved yet. And they only seem to be getting worse in the West. And the East is trying to avoid having to go through what the West is going through right now.
That was Amira speaking right there. And she said, no offense to Western women. And I have to say that I'm not offended at all. I'm a Western woman. And she's talking about the difference between the women in the West and the women in the East. I'm not in my feelings because she's talking about the Western women and I'm a Western woman because it's true.
So
what do you think are those?
So that's Eastern versus Western.
Some of those unresolved issues that a lot of the Eastern men don't want to subject themselves to as far as the Western women that they see.
Women being unhappy. So it's a huge, now I know maybe a lot of people will disagree with me when I say this, but Western women are very unhappy. No matter how they may act like they're happy, they're really not happy. And Eastern men see it. They can see Western women. They can see how unhappy they are with, they got all their liberation and so on, but they're very unhappy. And if you look at Eastern women, no matter how oppressed you may think they are really happy with their families. They're happy in their homes, doing what we normally do. Yeah, there's always going to be problems. There are pros and cons of each lifestyle, but in general, Eastern women are happier. We have happier attitudes. We're happier at home. We tend to wear more flowy dresses and smile, and we tend to be, I don't know, just happier women. And I think Eastern men, they are afraid to see Eastern women turn into Western women, turning into this person who's like, I gotta go to work in the morning. I'm tired. I don't want to come home and cook for you. I've been out working all day too. I don't want to deal with those kids. I don't know. Send them to daycare. They don't want to deal with having the woman turn into that. They want to have that woman happy to say, I don't want my kids to go to daycare. I want to keep them at home.
That was Amir again, and that statement was also 100% true.
They make more money than men over here. So I think that's also important too, because wealth will determine a lot of things too. So women, a lot of us have to work because our men are not making just enough money to take care of the entire family. So a lot of us are forced to work. So I think that needs to also kind of be said. Your men are able to have 4 wives because they financially can take care of all of them and they don't have to work, which in essence would make the women a lot happier because they don't have stress of having to work and take care of home and children as well.
Sounds familiar, huh? Sounds like your modern woman. Sounds like your feminist. Any Carrie Hilson, any level up queen. When they speak on having to have a man with X amount of money in order for them to be a woman. Let me translate that for you guys who don't understand Chameleons. Basically, in order for a woman to be happy and for her to be able to cook and clean and not be tired and use work as an excuse, the man has to make enough money so the woman can do that. This goes back to that whole concept of high value men and men of means being the only men that deserve a woman that shows them basic respect and who's willing to fulfill her basic duties as a woman. When in reality, even here in the US a long time ago, all of the women, they were not housewives. Some of the women worked part-time or full-time, but they still maintained their wifely duties. They made sure that the kids were on point. They cooked every single night. They packed lunches. They made breakfast. And it wasn't just housewives either, because even the women who had to go to work as a maid or a babysitter, they still did what they had to do. But this is your modern woman right here. They use the man's money and the amount of money that he has as an excuse to get out of doing this work that they don't want to do anyway. Take a look at this woman right here. This is a 70-year-old grandmother, I believe, in Ghana. She keeps her space clean. I mean, she was even sweeping the concrete. She didn't even have wood floors or rugs or any of that. She woke up early in the morning. She prepared the food for her family, her husband, and even her grands that she had around. This woman still worked every day too. She prepared food that she would take out to the marketplace, carrying it on top of her head for I don't know how long she had to walk. And then she still came back home, prepared dinner. She had to wash the dishes with her hand. She didn't have a dishwasher or a sink or anything. She had to wash all of her clothes by hand. She didn't even have a washing machine, and she also made sure that her husband, that he was good as well. Now, if that woman can do that at 70 years old, what is the excuse for the modern women over here in the West? What's the excuse? I'm not saying this to put any culture or anybody on top of another. I'm an American too, but can we not recognize the difference here? So I would call the statement before faux femininity or conditional femininity at best.
They make more money than men over here. So I think that's also important too, because wealth will determine a lot of things too.
Like for you modern women, the man's wealth determines whether or not you're going to respect him or do basic life duties like cooking and cleaning. And I say life because you should be doing this stuff anyway.
They make more money than men over here. So I think that's also important too, because wealth will determine a lot of things too. So if you look at the average man that's making $40K, do you think he could take care of a wife and 3 kids on $40K?
Sounds no different from the modern women who believe that an average man making $40,000 or $50,000 per year, they believe that he isn't even worth being with. We've heard them say this countless times. That's another reason why you have a lot of them still single right now. They think that for whatever reason, they are still entitled to a high value man, even though they have kids in tow. They have no experience of having any healthy relationship with a man. They are not traditional women, and they were not raised to be traditional women. They're not feminine women. I don't care how many classes they take. In real life, you cannot turn this on and off. And the whole thing about the man making $40,000 per year. You have Marias who come into our neighborhood every day to clean homes. This is while their husband Mario is out mowing lawns. That's what he's doing. And even though Mario may only be making $30,000 or $40,000 per year, Maria is still a feminine woman. She respects Mario, and she has no problem with cooking for Mario and their kids, even though she just came home from working, cleaning homes for other families. But Maria still gives him the respect that these modern women like this one, that they won't basically show a man unless the man is a high value man. So this was the first show that Amira appeared on. You had Anton on there and Lapeef, and then you had the the two black women on there, as well as a younger Latina and a younger Lebanese woman. The black women took offense, who believed that Amira's culture was being placed on a pedestal, when the whole question was simply about the women in their culture versus the women of the West. And the other thing that seemed to upset them was that Amira, the audience took a liking to her. She is the real deal. She was raised as a traditional woman with her father, with her mother, and she's a married woman with kids. She didn't go off at all, nor did she get offended after the German Shepherds came out, as Minister Jack would call them. So now we're about to get into the second week, this last show that Amira was on. Yes, she came back. Even after the German Shepherds came for her, she came back. And this time, Courtney, she was so ready for Amira. She had done a lot of research on Amira's culture. She had watched one of Amira's videos on her channel, because Amira, she has her own platform, and her goal was to get the audience off of her back, because you had a lot of people in the audience shocked at Courtney's behavior. Oh, her true colors are coming out. So many different comments. Once and for all, she was gonna come and plead her case against Amira, the authentic traditional woman. And so this is what happened.
And
Right.
Anton said it. But our culture was, Anton specifically said black culture is trash.
Okay, you're talking about more so from Anton. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm talking where we say our culture is trash in front of a different culture that only gave us, a speck of them. But it's like we all have problems. And as a black woman, I do get defensive, because I'm not going to speak ill will of my culture in front of people that's not in my culture. I just not.
Right. Like you can go inside of any restaurant, right, in the Middle East, and you can find this right here, like you would in the United States. I am a black woman from America, and I am not gonna act like we don't have a problem. This community is on fire. And newsflash, everyone sees it with social media. Everyone can see everything. It's no secret. It's on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, every single website on your mobile device. I guess all of our dysfunction is just hiding, in plain sight.
I also know that with your culture, you guys have an honor culture as far as with the Muslims. So what that means is that in the Lebanese community, they won't speak ill will. They will not embarrass. And I talked to Lebanese men. They will not deny anything that brings shame to their name or their community. You will never hear or be on YouTube where she's going to, or anyone of the Middle Eastern community is going to speak ill will about them. They'll do it at home, but they're not going to get on a public platform in front of others.
I understand what you're saying, but addressing problems, we have mostly it's handled in Arabic most of the time, so maybe you guys don't see it, but it's all over YouTube. We're constantly, we're constantly. If you go to a channel called Memory TV, it's all in Arabic, and we're all talking about Middle Eastern issues, everything. And it's all translated in English, so we do talk a lot about it, even between.
I did check those out, and it is.
That whole monologue, it sounds so familiar. Sounds like a lot of the anti-red pillars, huh? And it's funny how a person who never been to the East overnight became an expert on someone else's culture. And Amira said that they do talk about their issues on public platforms. And of course, I hear white men complaining all the time. So yeah, other people, they are talking about their issues. But you see how modern women, they do anything to change the subject to get away from being held accountable.
So I think that kind of was, a little bit, but that's why I said on today, let's talk about your culture. And there's a lot of stuff that I learned and I'm like, okay.
So I think what I hear is
with Black people in the Middle Eastern countries.
Pardon?
As far as what I'm learning with, Black people and going to the Middle Eastern countries, how they feel, how they're treated. And even in your country, what I'm learning, and maybe that you can shine some light on, which I'm just like.
And here's where she pulled the race card. That was premeditated. She had this all planned out because she said she did her research.
But Kay talked about having a shared history, a shared culture, shared tradition. I talked about marriage being about covenant, right? The whole buzzword right now is about marriage being about business. Amira talked about family, right? So covenant is exchange for weaknesses, right? So in traditional times, if you had a warrior family and you had a farmer family, the warrior family went to the farmer family and said, "Hey, we're gonna do this exchange. You wed your son, you wed your daughter, and I'm gonna make sure you're covered. You're gonna make sure I'm covered, right?" So if I was to pose the question to Amira, in that situation where, the gentleman came and he talked to your dad, can you break down, if possible, if it happened at all, what was the exchange in a covenant, or do you believe that marriage is about business?
Or wasn't an exchange? Because I'm learning, and even learning your culture, Amira, and tell me if I'm wrong, is that it's more arranged. You guys marry on socioeconomic status, religion. I know you guys have a very high rate of dating within families, cousins, FYI, to keep money and wealth. So it's completely different. And so I think that's what we were missing last week is the culture. We talked about religion, but the culture of it all.
When Rila was saying about the exchange, or you said exchange, correct? I don't know what was said because that was a conversation between men, and I don't really know exactly, and I don't think either one of those men are going to tell me exactly what was said, just because that's probably man talk. I have no idea.
So Amira said whenever her husband and her father had to talk about them getting married, she don't know what was discussed because it was man talk. But did you guys catch the modern woman there? She brought up the fact that in Amira's culture, they even marry their cousins out there. Amira did not marry her cousin. But what do you think the purpose was for her bringing up that point?
In a culture that will look at you as a Black man as trash is a problem. And I know because
I'm winning.
Hold on, no. I'll let you speak.
Who's it a problem for, Courtney? Who is it a problem for?
Answer. I'm gonna speak.
Okay,
and it might not be a problem for you, but for me, that represents for Black love and Black folks to come together. And that we have someone on there that culture legitimately looks at you as beneath them, as a Black man. They have words when they're in the. You go over there.
Again, you still concerned about what somebody else thinks.
Because they do.
I don't care what nobody else thinks. I only care about the results.
You're not the only one in this.
She never said that though, Courtney.
You're not. Hold on. You're
she
not
putting words in her mouth. We gonna let her rock. We gonna let her hang herself. Go ahead.
That's fine. You don't have to worry about whatever no one thinks about you. That's fine. But guess what? They have a code. And then legitimately, the old school Muslims from Lebanese have a code. And I read about it and I heard about an old man that told me about that. He said it's an honor code that they have, that they will not speak ill will on their women nor men at all to anyone. They will hide it, and they do, because they have a particular prestige that they want to have. They'll deal with it at home like normal families do. but they not airing their business out. You won't see not a white man, white woman, Mexican.
I don't
you
care
won't
about
see
that.
at all.
But outside of this show, women do it all the time.
I don't care about that.
We're talking about culture.
You air your
business
business out every single day, and you sitting here talking about what somebody else is paying attention to. You sat here on this platform and aired your whole life out, and now you gonna sit here.
That was my decision.
No. Right, you're right. And it's my decision. Now it's my decision to say what I'ma say. I didn't sit here
and this is what happens when you guys allow these feminist chameleons to exist. As a part of the baby mama class, she believes that now she can control what black men say. She don't want them saying anything that's going to make her class look bad in front of the real traditional women, when it's the women like her who are responsible for this destruction in the community. And that part of them being in control of the community, running the households, that's why we are down bad as a people. We're supposed to let her tell the community what we need to do, literally telling the men what should come out of their mouths.
And you got pushback from me. So what?
You're right, but you're still wrong. And you still can't stand on your point.
But I've been very consistent. When you brought
consistently wrong on this specific point.
When you brought the white little lady on here, I said the exact same thing. When you bring anybody, I'm going to say the exact same thing. That's my stance.
Again, it don't matter.
My stance is
your stance is against the person and what they look like, and not their point.
No, it's
and
not.
that's what makes you wrong. No,
it's
when somebody say something.
Are called in the Middle East.
I don't care.
I know you don't care.
I don't
you don't
care.
Wait,
hold on, you guys. Hold on.
I don't care.
Again,
what it comes back down to.
I do.
When it comes back, no, I'm about to say this last point, and then Amira, you can say it. What it comes back down to is that the argument that Courtney has against people is what they look like and whether or not that's relevant and what it is that they're saying. And she's not arguing against their point. She's arguing against their culture.
I hear all of you out, and I can't speak for I can't speak for everyone. Look, Courtney's talking about something that people call someone in a different country. Look, in Russia, they have things that they call people who are darker than them. In Russia, I was the N-word. In Russia, I get called the N-word because that's how it is. In every culture, there's gonna be people who are ignorant and racist. I don't speak for them when I'm talking to you all. I speak as Amira. I'm just Amira. Okay. And I love you guys, and I love watching your show. That's why I wanted to be here, because of the conversations. I'm not here to represent Lebanon and the bad of Lebanon and the good of Lebanon. I'm just giving you guys a different point of view. So I'd appreciate maybe you guys can just see me for me and not for what you may have seen in the past with some Lebanese person back in the day who may have said something.
I mean, this chameleon went on for hours. Everybody was feeling Amira's mindset. Again, she's the only traditional woman on the panel. She's the only married woman on the panel. And the chameleon was not going to stop until she was able to successfully get everyone to change their positive opinion of Amira to something negative.
Is that when we bring somebody on a platform, I think it's important to vet, to see what they feel about us before they come onto the show.
Well, here's the
not gonna happen. Not as long as I'm a part of this. As long as I'm a part of this show, you might as well end that right now, because it's never gonna happen.
So there was a comment that was made on one of her shows that she made, and she can clear it up, is who she thought was racist. She made a very particular point that she said the most racist people that she know are Black and Asian.
Okay, Courtney, we're not gonna dive into
No,
that.
don't do, no. Yeah, we are.
We're gonna stay
because y'all are going
we don't have to take anything personally.
It's not personal.
Lauren and Kay,
No.
I want you to go ahead and take us home with this.
Don't shut me up, JR. When we
it's not
talk
about
what has been said on the platform that she had.
But we stand up. I understand that we're not talking about her platform. What we're talking about is the show last week. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, Lauren, and we're talking about a woman on the platform that calls us racist.
Courtney, please. Lauren, I'm gonna start with you. I want you to go ahead and take us home.
By the way, shout out to the woman Lauren. Now, Lauren is the other black woman that's on the show. She's probably a modern woman too, but she is the only black woman who handled herself with class during this episode. So I did want to point that out as well. But you see how the chameleon is, one, insubordinate, out of order. She thinks that she's in control of who can be there on the show and who won't be on the show. And she's even controlling the topic of conversation. The conversation was not about who liked black people and who didn't like black people. The conversation was about what can women from our culture, what can they learn from the women of the cultures that's in the East? How can they learn how to be more feminine? How can they learn how to be more submissive and cooperative? And she's turned this whole thing into a CNN political debate. Like I tell you all the time, these modern women, they are out of order. Literally talking over the men who was responsible for putting her on the platform for you guys to even know who she is in the first place.
Hey, Court, can I ask you
But
something?
she also says that there shouldn't be, because this is important. You have someone on a black platform talking to thousands of black folks. We need to understand where she's coming from.
Wait a minute.
When I have someone that
says, see, hold on. Let me stop. Hold on, Chicago. Hold on, stop. Hold on. Let's just set this. Hold on, stop. No, bro. No.
One more time.
Nobody. Okay, cool. Let's be clear. Let me set the standard and the stage right here. This is not a black platform. This is a platform in which we have conversations that ultimately could foster growth. No, I don't know where you got that from. I don't know where that came from. This is mostly watches. Yo.
It doesn't matter who mostly watches.
Please don't interrupt me again. This is not a black platform. I don't know where you got that from. I don't know who told you that. I know it wasn't me. I don't know who told you that on the side.
We're all black.
Hey, could you please stop for a second? I said, please don't interrupt me.
I literally haven't said like 5 words this whole time. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
This is a platform where we have uncomfortable conversations. Nobody owns it. It's here for us to not mute or censor anybody, regardless of how they feel. The only thing that we ask is for you to defend your position. We can feel differently. We can look at things differently, but censorship is not where it's at. I don't believe in cancel culture. I don't believe in people taking things for being something that it was not created to be. And so I don't know where y'all got that narrative, but that's not what's happening over here. We're having uncomfortable conversations regardless of who come on the platform.
And you have the 2Ks both bucking up at Anton and Lapeef in public. Funny, they believe that the non-black woman was an issue being on the show, but there's no issue with baby mamas and feminists being on the show.
Okay. Yes, there are some things that are said on my channel, and everyone is welcome to check it out. What I think Courtney is taking out is the context of like what was going on, that whole conversation. If you just take one piece out and say, Amira said this, it looks bad. Of course it's going to look bad. But in that conversation, if you check out the thread that was in, there was a lot of things going on in that conversation. And what I wanted to do was flip things back on another person.
Hold on, Courtney, let her talk.
I wanted to flip things back on that person just because that person was, I don't remember the full conversation, but I do remember what I said. And yeah, and the only reason I said that is because there's certain things that I've seen, because I used to live in New York and I went to a majority black school, and things that I saw were different. And people say, well, I mean, this is a whole political conversation. I don't know if you guys want to get into politics. It's mostly like leftist versus rightism kind of thing, but if you take it out of context, of course it looks bad, but I'm not you're trying to accuse me of being a racist. I'm not a racist.
Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. And we do have a special announcement while we at it. Amira is part of the Lapeef network. So let's welcome her to the network.
Thank you.
Stop playing.
Thank you. And this is a good welcome. This is a really good welcome. I get called out.
Stand by in the back.
Hey, boy.
At least we get this out in the beginning. Fine, we'll get it out in the beginning.
That makes sense.
Did y'all set this up perfectly? I mean, what? Now,
JR set it up.
JR, I knew as soon as she got off the call on that show, JR was like, make sure you hit me in my inbox. Morpheus. Got you, Morpheus.
Yes,
Everybody clapped and welcomed this woman to the network except for one particular person.
family. She's family.
Thank you.
Oh, so she's gonna be on the family trip then. if your husband allows you.
We'll see. Family trip.
Come after this, Rilla, she ain't gonna come after this now. Y'all done.
Courtney gonna kill me in my sleep.
No, black women don't act that way. Black women don't act that way, baby. Y'all know y'all got the Taliban over there. Don't play. That's what Christian women do.
They are.
No, we don't have the Taliban here in America.
Evil genius.
She just tried to say that this girl's people, they're the Taliban. Just loud, wrong, and ignorant. All I can say is I like the platform, but when you turn it from a show of male co-hosts to a show ran by female co-hosts, it's going to always be chaotic, especially when you are continuously bringing on females who are feminists, baby mamas, and they represent the worst of us. Maybe they should do more like Fresh and Fit, where they have the regular male co-hosts, but then they might invite different female guests, but not a regular guest that becomes a co-host, and then they think that it's their show. They think they run the show. And then that's how you get a show that was probably designed for men to be able to speak about what they think about things, to now women controlling what the men can say on the platform that was intentionally built for men. Well, that's all I got here. You guys can leave your comments below. Want to see more content like this? Support this channel by hitting up the Cash App. The link is below in the description. Ladies, fellas, want a balanced analysis on topics like this one? Don't forget to subscribe to this channel, like, and share.